Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we have a Dragonmaid deck profile. Now this is a more control based deck, not your regular combo Dragonmaid that aims to consistently set up like at least a Shio. It's not really that right now. So I guess I'll be starting off with the profile. Having a control deck is kind of better in the current format, just being able to stop your opponent from somewhat OTKing you, and you're able to snowball into an absolute insane amount of advantage during the long term. So I'll start off with the Dragonmaids. I'm only running 2 big dragons. Please don't run any more than 2. They're very bricky, and you're usually going to be sending them to the graveyard off a card like Parlor or Hospitality. That's kind of your main way to get access to them, and you generally don't want to hard draw them too much, and these two just have the best effects. And you're also running you're not running the fire or the water, because you're not running the fire or water small Dragonmaid. So their hand effects don't really come up too much. You're usually just running them as a level 5 or higher for Shio, which is easily accessible to Hospitality or Parlor. We run triple chamber, best normal summon of the deck. Get you access. It's very versatile in its targets. You're able to search a changeover in case you have the materials for Shio. You can search a Hospitality if you're going turn 1 and you want to get a Hieratic Seal on the board. You can search a Tidying in case you already have all the cards you need and you want an extra disruption on the board. It basically just does everything, which is why it's so good. And that's just the first effect, by the way. It has a second effect, where during the battle phase, where it's able to tag out into a level 7 or higher Dragonmaid from the graveyard. So you're able to summon Shio from the graveyard if it ends up getting destroyed somehow, which is just absolutely insane. So triple chamber for sure. Cruel Parlor, another one of your starters. Your main turn 1 play is generally going to be Hieratic Seal pass, but you're aiming to just increase that board over a longer period of time. Parlor is just able to, mainly you're going to be dumping a Tidying turn 1 in order to link climb into a Hieratic Seal. If you have, once again, similar to Chamber, if you have the materials for Shio, you're going to be dumping a Changeover, since Changeover is able to recur itself. And sometimes you can even dump one of your bigger Dragonmaids in case you already have that Changeover in hand and you need the materials for it. So triple Parlor, the 1 copy of Nurse, only 1 copy because it's not really a starter. It's more of a card that needs a lot of graveyard setup and keeps your board just filled up during a longer term. So you generally don't want to see it unless you don't want to see it too much turn 1. You're realistically going to be summoning it off Hieratic Seal, just to fill your board with extra monsters and enough bodies for another Seal on next turn, and maybe even a Shio on top of that, which is really good. And those are it for our Dragonmaids. Only 9, but we also run the spells and traps too. Next up, we have the triple Noctovision. Noctovision, it's a dragon extender, and the reason why I'm choosing this specifically over other dragon extenders is because it's a level 5 or higher dragon for Shio specifically. Also, it's the best dragon extender in general. It's able to draw you a card, it's able to chain block. It's just super good. The 1 copy of Darkness Metal and triple Black Metal Dragon. I am not running the Kitchen Dragonmaid, and this package is just better than Kitchen Dragonmaid. Kitchen, it doesn't have, its effective send is theoretically really good, but it realistically cannot do anything without the use of other cards like Hospitality, Reborn, or World Legacy Guard, right? And you need one of them in order for Kitchen to even function. And if you already have another Dragonmaid in hand, every single Dragonmaid in this deck is just better than Kitchen in general. If you want, you can run Kitchen, but I would not really advocate for it. Black Metal Dragon is just a better normal summon. It's a 1-card Spheres. It gets you access to Red MD. Now, Red MD is a level 5 or higher dragon for Shio. If you're able to keep it on the field, you're able to Monster Reborn every single turn. So it just has that extra bit of versatility over there. Next up, we have the hand traps, triple Ash, 2 Crow, 2 Meister. I only had space for 7 hand traps, so I just decided to split the 4 slots into 2 Crow, 2 Meister. They realistically do the same thing, but Crow, in my opinion, being able to remove that threat from the graveyard is really, really effective, especially against the Eldritch matchup, or against Drytron. The thing that makes Drytron so, difficult to compete with is able to just fills their graveyard with cards that they can summon next turn too. So DD Crow removes those resources and Skullmaster negates them, pretty obvious. Next for spell traps, you have the 1 copy of Changeover. Changeover, the fusion spell. It's also able to recur itself by bouncing a Dragonmaid. And there's a very cool interaction with this. Since you first add it to your hand, then you return the monster to your hand, the monster doesn't necessarily have to return to the hand in order to add itself to the hand. You can chain something like Dragonmaid Tiding to bounce one of your opponent's cards, and you basically get to add this from your graveyard for free, similar to Meteorness Drytron, which is pretty cool. Also, I don't think it's effective fusion summon is once per turn. If DB will let me check its effect. There. Yep, not once per turn, only its recovery effect is once per turn. Next up we have Triple Hospitality. Not only is a monster reborn, it also summons from hand or graveyard, so it doesn't target. If your opponent has DD Crow, then you are perfectly fine. And it's also able to fill your graveyard with the level 5 or higher monsters, which is pretty important, especially in terms of Parlor or Nurse. Next up we have the 1 copy of Monster Reborn and Triple Warlexy Guard Dragon. And the deck just is really good at snowballing, and most of that advantage does come from just summoning cards from the graveyard. Usually you're going to be summoning Nurse, and since you are linking cards into Hieratic Seal, being able to keep that extra advantage with these cards is pretty healthy, and Guard Dragon is also pretty useful with LP. That's it for our spells. Next for our traps, we run the triple copies of Tidying. This is a really good card. It's able to bounce a dragon you control and a card your opponent controls, and it has a couple of good synergies. Probably its best synergy is with House Dragonmaid, because when a dragon monster it returns to the hand because of a card effect, whether it's yours or your opponent's, is able to pop a card, and Tidying is able to proc that. I discussed an interaction with Changeover earlier. Tidying interacts with that, and those are just the main ones. Tidying also gets you cards like Chamber or Parlor back into your hand for further future use, in case you just want to use your normal summon again, you don't have any other starters. And on top of that, not only does it have a brilliant first effect, it also has a really good second effect too, in order to summon a Dragonmaid from the graveyard, hand or graveyard, I believe it is. Yep, it's hand or graveyard, so if your opponent has DD Crow, it doesn't matter. And that's kind of the effect that really seals the deal. It works especially well with Parlor, just being able to become a 1-card Hieratic Seal, and it just works really well all together. Next up we have the Triple Ice Dragon Prison, Triple Solemn Strike. Generally the main engine doesn't require more than 2 cards. That's really all it takes for the engine to just start snowballing in advantage, so you can just fill up those extra slots with generic traps like Ice Dragon Prison and Solemn Strike. If you want to have a more combo-based variant, which aims to bust out a more consistent turn 1 board, then you can kind of go for that too. You'll find other profiles on YouTube. A side deck can realistically be anything you want depending on the format. And then for extra deck we run the Double Shio, Double House, pretty standard. Next for extra deck we have the 1 access code. The access code is really good because it's also able to deal with Dragoon, and it also just absolutely obliterates your opponent's board, including their back row, and it's also spell speed 4, none of those, and Bold Sword doesn't have any of those attributes, not to mention that this can just be made with 2 monsters, which is super good. Though in BLS you're very easily able to summon it with its protection with cards like Noctovision, Darkness Metal, one of your Dragonmaids, one of your bigger level Dragonmaids. There are lots of decks that just can't out this card. Eldritch is probably a really good example. If you're able to use its effect to gain 1500, it's practically Dragoon. Like, it's really difficult to out this card. and it's super easy to summon 2, which is why I'm playing it. Next we have the 1 Unicorn, 1 Phoenix, 1 Cerberus, all of this just for spot removal. A triple Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. You have to, if you don't want to run 3, you have to run at least 2, since this card is just so busted in this deck, being able to summon any dragon from your deck, and then that dragon snowballs into advantage by itself, and you're able to do this every turn. It's not targeting, it's not destruction, it outs Dragoon. It just does everything you want. Next up we have the 2 Striker Dragon. Occasionally you need the 2 Striker Dragon if you just want to get a Dragonmaid into the graveyard for future use. So that's where 2 comes in. And then the 1 copy of LP, its main synergy is with World Legacy Guard Dragon. But apart from having World Legacy Guard Dragon on field, you don't really use LP's effect that much, to be honest. It's more of just a nice bonus to have. You can sometimes summon the black metal if you haven't used it already, in order to summon you can summon black metal, go into another seal, and then black metal searches darkness metal. You can banish LP and then reborn a card. It's a cool interaction, but it's not necessarily something that you want to go in. It's not really. You're usually just gonna summon in one of your Dragonmaids or Parlor. So I'm gonna kind of just showcase a couple of quick test times with this now. So right here we have kind of hand number 1, and you realistically, well, yeah, Chamber and any extender is really good. And you'll kind of just see it over here. We'll use the Chambers effect. Since we have the extra extender, we would, if we didn't have Nocto Vision, we would usually search the Dragonmaid Hospitality, but since we have it in this case, we can just search another disruption in the form of Dragonmaid Tidying. Now we'll link into the Striker Dragon just to proc the Nocto Vision's effect in order to summon itself, and then you can go into Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. Nocto Vision will trigger drawing a card. We draw Hospitality, which is a really good top deck, but I'd rather just keep that for next turn. I'm pretty sure, well, if you really want to, you can end on a changeover too, but if you really want to, you can also use the Hospitality to reborn the Chamber, and then use changeover to summon it, but after that you don't have any good way to resolve changeover's recursion effect until next turn. So if you were to pass on just this, let's say you pass on this, you can use the Heavenly Spheres effect, tribute itself. I just want to imagine these cards aren't there for the purpose of the showcase. You'll be summoning a Nurse. Nurse will be able to reborn the Chamber, and then Chamber will be able to search. You're usually searching a Hospitality, since you'll be able to reborn the Nurse, and then Nurse reborns Chamber, and then Hospitality also dumps the Earnest, and then Earnest is able to bounce Nurse back, and then you get the level 5 or higher monster for the extra advantage. Since you already have every single spell trap, you might as well just search another Tidying, since you have that much leeway, and you have the extra Tidying. I'd rather bounce the Nurse, just even if the Chamber gets beaten over, you can still reborn it with the Nurse. If your opponent just passes, we get the extra draw. You're just seeing me. This might not seem like a lot of advantage, but you did just disrupt your opponent twice right there, and you've already ended off on some pluses, and you have everything you need in your hand. So let's say we normal summon Nurse, summon back Chamber. Let's just search a Hospitality for argument's sake. Now we can kind of I'm a bit rusty on this part. If you want, you can go into the changeover right here, since we have the lore power. But say we did not have that lore power, you would have to do something like make those 2 off into spheres. You're going to be using Hospitality, summoning back the nurse and dumping the Ernest, since you can dump something with a different attribute. And your plays kind of go like this. I'm not an expert on this deck, but I do know the rough ins and outs. You go into battle phase at the start. You can bounce back the nurse, summon the Ernest, attack over something, and then during main phase 2, you can activate your changeover, fuse these two into a Shio. And if you really wanted to, you could perhaps like use a tiding and then use changeover's recursion effect. I might do that right here, where I use the tidying, summon back the nurse, and then use changeover's effect in order to add these two back to my hand. And then I can happily set 2 more cards. And even though you're not getting too much advantage, you're just fine-tuning your hand even more and more. During your opponent's standby phase, you'll be able to use Shio, summoning back the chamber, and then chamber just grabs another tidying. You're getting 1 bounce every single turn, and having that much pressure on your opponent is just usually able to interrupt them enough. You just search another tidying for next turn. You're able to get a bounce with tidying. Usually you would first use your Shio negate in order to shuffle it back into the extra deck, and then you'll be able to summon the house. And then you'll be able to use tidying. That's 1 interruption. Tidying bounces, 2 interruptions. House will pop now. That's 3 interruptions. And then you're able to use Sphere's effect in order to bounce, and then you're able to just maybe summon a Parlor and get a dump. Say Parlor, for example, and then Parlor could dump something like a chamber for, you can just normal summon Nurse. You have lots and lots and lots of plays, and you have so many other cards in hand to work with too. As I said, I'm not doing like some sort of deck guide. It's kind of the rough lines you're going to be taking. Here they are. You have an extra Ice Dragons, you have an extra Solemn Strike, you have a changeover for next turn if you want to say fuse that House Dragonmaid. Or usually you would be just summoning back this Ernest during battle phase or something. Let's see what we were going to top deck. You can just summon back Ernest with the tidying graveyard effect too, which is pretty cool. We're going to top deck the World Legacy Guard Dragon, so we could go into our 3rd seal, and the plays just keep on going on and on. This deck literally never runs out of plays. It's really, really insane, and you have a pretty good grind game right now. We're on turn 5. You have so many interruptions to do, and the deck is fun. The deck is really fun to play with. You should definitely give it a try. If you like more combo variants, you can like Google them up on YouTube. I was about to say Google them up on YouTube, search them up on YouTube, and that's kind of the video. That's all for the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, as it really helps the channel. And I'll be seeing you next time. Goodbye.